What's going on, you guys? It is your boy Matt Talks Films. I am back with another video, and I am back with another review. And this time, I am talking about the 1987 remake, The Running Man, starring Glenn Powell, directed by Edgar Wright, and also starring Coleman Domingo, William H. Macy, and Josh Brolin. And if you made this far in the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe right now to this YouTube channel at Matt Talks Films. Follow me everywhere at Matt Talks Films, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, and I will see you there. Now, let's get it started. How did I feel about The Running Man, the 2025 remake directed by Edgar Wright, who I really love? Let me get that out the way first. I am a huge fan. I am a huge proprietor of Edgar Wright, the filmmaker. I think he is a terrific filmmaker, and ultimately, he is an incredibly identifiable filmmaker. Whenever you watch one of his great films, you can immediately say this is an Edgar Wright film, and that's without a doubt. And in my opinion, the Cornetto trilogy is one of the best trilogies of the 2000s, maybe one of the best trilogies of all time. I don't love The World's End, but I really think highly of Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. I think both of those are masterpieces, and I really love Scott Pilgrim's versus the World. I probably just fucked up that title, but I really love that film. It's one of my favorite films of all time. So Edgar Wright, I really love him. So when I heard he was doing a 1987 remake of The Running Man, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, and now he's going to do it in 2025 with Glenn Powell at the helm, I was like, hey, didn't think this film would be needed. Didn't think that film needed a remake, but we're getting one. And Edgar Wright, one of the most talented filmmakers, one of the most underrated filmmakers, is attached to the project. So maybe this film will be good. So what did I think about The Running Man 2025? I think this movie might suck. Now, I released a TikTok video and I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. I think I immediately regretted that when I pushed the button to send that to TikTok and upload it for me. I think this movie might have sucked. And I am disappointed because, first of all, I am a huge proprietor of Glenn Powell, the movie star. I think he's an incredibly good actor. He's very charismatic. He has a ton of personality that shines through the screen with whatever role he has. Everyone wants some, anybody but you, Hitman. He's a very talented actor, and he's definitely going to be a movie star. Will he be a big movie action star like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone? I don't think so. I don't think he could pull off the roles that Arnold and Sylvester pulled off in their primes. Now listen, The Running Man, the 1987 version, isn't a masterpiece. It just isn't. However, it features one of the most prominent action stars, maybe the most prominent action star of all time. That's why that film works so much, because the idea is really good. Conceptually, it's a sound film. I think it's a very interesting film. It's very captivating. The premise is unreal. And then you have the best action star of all time, Arnold Schwarzenegger, at the helm. Like, with that being said, that film isn't close to being great. I think it's a good film. I think I rated it 3.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. But to get a remake of it in 2025 makes no sense, especially when you really can't make it better than the first one. Especially with we've seen with the final product of this newest remake of The Running Man in 2025. Why remake this film if you can't make it better? This film isn't better than the original, and that's quite a statement in my opinion, because the first one isn't great. It's good. It's extremely watchable. It's rewatchable, and it's a really interesting and fun premise. And then you watch the 2025 version, and you're like, where's the fun? Where's the entertainment? Where is Glenn Powell pulling off this big of a role? Because honestly, to be quite honest with you, Glenn Powell, I love him. I still believe him as an actor. I have maybe the most stock when it comes to Glenn Powell, the actor. You can go ask anyone through the world, like, hey, how much stock do you have in Glenn Powell? You probably don't have as much as Matt. Matt Talks Films on YouTube. Because I have quite a bit of stock in Glenn Powell. So I wanted to see him take that jump with this role and being not only a big movie star, but being a big action movie star, which we don't have right now. And he thoroughly fails here, in my opinion. I did not buy him at all in this role. I just had a hard time getting behind him. I have so much to talk about with this film. I did a quick 3-minute video on TikTok and I wasn't happy, so I had to talk about it with you guys. So strap in, lock in, and let's get started, because this film wasn't fun. It felt lazy. It felt weak. It felt sauceless. And ultimately, it left me asking the question why as I left the theater. Alright, so let's get it out the way. What did I like about this movie? There isn't much. Despite my score of 2.5 out of 5 not indicating that, I didn't like much of this film. I mean, let's just keep it. Let's just say what I liked here. Coleman Domingo, one of the greatest actors in the world of film, and he proves it here. Every time he's on the screen, that is the best part of this movie. His character is interesting, and Coleman Domingo is unreal. The cinematic presence this guy has is unreal, and it's hard to rival in the year 2025 when you compare him to other actors. He is terrific. He is so goddamn good in this movie. He's one of the best elevators in the supporting actor role this year. Because every time he's on the screen in this film, the film instantly gets better. And you're like, hey, that's why I want to go see this movie. Because of the people attached to it. Josh Brolin, pretty good in this movie. He did his role as the big corporate villain behind this game who created this game. So I really like the two performances there. Josh Brolin and Coleman Domingo are really good in this movie. They did their role here. They did their part. What else did I like about this movie? See, now you are seeing me in real time trying to figure out what the hell I liked about this movie outside of those two things. The action sequences, in parts, in sections, are good. That's all I have to say about this movie when it pertains to what I liked about it and what I convincingly liked about it. Coleman Domingo, Josh Brolin, and parts and slivers of the action sequences. Michael Cera's also in this film. Listen, I like Michael Cera as much as the next person. I think he's great. I think he's funny. I think he's fun. I think he's entertaining whenever he's on the big screen. A lot of people are saying his part of the movie is the best part of this movie. If his part of the movie is the best part of this movie, then that says a whole lot about the rest of this movie. And it does, because honestly, did I like seeing Michael Cera on the big screen? Of course I did. I love seeing Michael Cera act. But was his part woefully fun? Sure, compared to the rest of the movie. Because his part isn't exactly viscerally entertaining or important. It's just a part of the movie that is somewhat interesting that happens. Is it memorable? No. Is Michael Cera exceptionally great? No. But we all love Michael Cera, and we all love to see him on the big screen. But in my opinion, Michael Cera is really good here. But to say he's the best part of this movie would just not be true. The best part of this movie is easily Coleman Domingo. So Michael Cera's in this movie. He does a good enough job. And please, Michael Cera, do more movies. Especially do better movies if you can, because I want to see you on the big screen whenever I can. Now, let's talk about this film in its entirety. Do I need to tell you guys what this film is about? I'll tell you guys what this film is about real quick. Ben Richards, played by Glen Powell, is a blue-collar, hardworking man who is struggling to find his place in society, and he's struggling to provide for his family. He can't keep a job. He can't find a job. He keeps on getting fired on the jobs he's getting hired for insubordination. So he's looking to not only provide for his family, but save his daughter, who is deathly sick, and he can't provide her the health care that she needs. So what does he do? In the dystopian world that he lives in, he tries out for reality TV shows. He doesn't want to do The Running Man because it's a super dangerous game and he can get killed and he can kill others in the process. However, during his tryouts for reality TV shows, he gets picked to be a part of The Running Man. And he doesn't want to do it. His wife told him he shouldn't do it. But when you're in the room with the corporate man and he's offering you all this type of money and telling you how you could provide for your daughter, it's hard to say no, especially when you know the responsibility you have on the line. So ultimately he becomes part of The Running Man, and now he's in the game. And now he has to compete and he has to win to hopefully provide for his family. But ultimately, that's not how this movie plays out. There's a lot of death, there's a lot of action, and ultimately, does he get what he got in this game for? I won't spoil it, but I'm sure you can predict it. Alright, so why am I so angry about this movie? Matt, you gave it a 2.5 out of 5 on your TikTok video that only about 600 people might watch, luckily, if you're lucky. When I'm sitting in front of this laptop right here, I'm like, man, I gave Bruce Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere 2.5 out of 5. I didn't like that movie much. What movie would I rather watch? Bruce Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere or The Running Man? I think ever so slightly, I would rather watch The Running Man. But that is in no compliment to The Running Man or Deliver Me From Nowhere. Honestly, they're in the same boat. And honestly, as I'm sitting here in front of you guys, I might lower these two films to a 2. So there might be a score change for me. There might be a full timeout, minute timeout where I change the scores for those two films. However, I'm not going to do that definitively. So let's talk about Glen Powell. To start this video, I said I have a lot of stock in Glen Powell. I believe in Glen Powell as the actor. I still do. But he was massively disappointing here. He was not convincing as Ben Richards here. He was not convincing to me as a man who is fighting for his life, struggling in poverty, and has to claw himself out of it to provide for his family by any means necessary. He couldn't pull it off. And all these charismatic qualities we attach to Glen Powell, the actor, and that we've gotten from him in the past, is non-existent in this film. Completely non-existent. It's shockingly how soulless his performance is in this movie. And I don't know who's at fault here because I've seen Glenn Powell show us these incredibly charismatic and funny and manly performances in the past. But then we get to this performance, none of that is to be found. A lot of Glenn Powell's performance in this film feels incredibly forced and lethargic and characteristicless, if that's a word or a phrase. It's incredibly shocking how underwhelming and disappointing Glenn Powell is in this film. I mean, really. No, I didn't think this film was going to be good. I thought it was going to be serviceable. I thought it was going to be a fun popcorn action movie I can watch and escape for a little bit. But it really wasn't that. And a lot of that goes to Glenn Powell. I think Glenn Powell is a movie star. I don't know if he's ever going to be an action star. Like, he seemingly wants to be. Like, listen, Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger aren't even close to being good actors. Like, I think they've given good performances in the past, but ultimately, you know who they are. They're not good actors. What they provide in their believability when it comes to their action roles and what they provide in their cinematic presence equals to why they were so successful and huge as action stars. Glenn Powell, he's charismatic, he's funny. We've seen him being all those things in the past. I don't think he's believable as an action star. And this film was a vehicle to display to you guys, hey, Glenn Powell is here and he can be a big action star. I didn't buy him 1 second. He brings no sense of believability to the role of Ben Richards and what Ben Richards calls to. I didn't feel a bit of feeling towards his character, and I didn't feel at all he was built for the moments that Ben Richards constantly found himself in. The rage felt dull. The moments where he had to be funny and charismatic to get himself out of situations felt dull. Just everything about his performance felt dull and lackluster, and a bit of that feels like that was the case due to the poor writing of this film, which we will get into. But another half of this feels like maybe Glenn Powell is not the movie star he is touted to be in terms of being the newest and biggest action star. Could I believe Glenn Powell in a Mission Impossible role that's been talked about recently? Can I believe him in similar films like this one? I don't think I can. I just don't believe him as this character who's poverty stricken and struggling to find a job, and now he has to crawl himself out of this situation through the darkest ways possible in this dystopian society that he currently finds himself in as the character of Ben Richards. And to me, that is disappointing because I expect more from Glenn Powell. He has shown me more. He has showed me better as an actor. And then you watch this, he's just poor. He's just really bad in this movie. And I hate to say that because all my stocks that I have in Glenn Powell as the actor took a major dip. They took a major Dogecoin dip here. And I'm struggling because of it now. All the Glenn Powell stockholders, the panic button might have been pressed with this movie. I still believe in him, but like now he has officially shown us his limitations here. So Glenn Powell, a really disappointing, a really lackluster and non-believable performance. This movie raised red flags as soon as it started. The situation we are propelled into. With Ben Richards, his character, he's at a job, he brings his kid, and he's adamantly telling this boss and this former boss of him, like, hey, I need a job. I need to provide for my kid. She is struggling with her health. I need to save her. And none of that is believable. It feels super silly. The writing is horrible and cringy. And this film just gets off to a bad start right off the bat. And the vibes to start this film should have been high, and they weren't. The highest vibes points in this film were during the middle and when we are in the game of the Running Man and when we're getting told about it and when Coleman Domingo is just manufacturing all these storylines for these characters within the game of the Running Man. So Glenn Powell, disappointing, underwhelming, and lackluster, and my stocks in Glenn Powell have dipped and the panic button has been pressed on Glenn Powell on what he can be as a full-on movie star. I don't think he could be an action star. This is his first showcase as an action star in a lead role, and he adamantly disappoints. And visually, obviously, disappoints. And it sucks. There really isn't a highlight from him in this movie. The rage feels forced. The moments of anger feel forced. The action scenes are lackluster, and you really don't believe it. There's moments in this movie where he's walking angrily, and it just feels so forced and so cringe-inducing. It was show-shocking, quite honestly. Now let's get into the love interest here. Because I painted you guys' relationship here with Ben Richards. Ben Richards and his wife, played by Jamie Lawson, Sheila Richards. I told you relationship. Their daughter is dying pretty much. She's struggling mentally and with her health. And then the wife, she's a waitress at a high-end restaurant, and she has to flirt her way to tips to provide for her family, while Glenn Powell, Ben Richards' character, is struggling to find a job and provide for his family. So we first are introduced to Jamie Lawson and Ben Richards to start this movie, and there's immediately no chemistry between the two. The chemistry is so starkingly bad between the two that it's incredibly noticeable, especially when you've seen a lot of movies, and especially when you've seen Glenn Powell in the past have great chemistry with Adria Arjona or Sydney Sweeney. The chemistry between the two is starkingly bad. And not only is the lines of dialogue written for both of those characters in the opening scene incredibly bad and cringe-inducing, the lines and the dialogues being read are incredibly handheld worthy, meaning they are holding your hand through the exposition of this film. I was shocked how minimal chemistry Glenn Powell and Jamie Lawson had. I mean, it was really, really hard to watch. And parts of me had me thinking, is this on purpose? I don't know. It's so bad. It almost feels purposeful. But then I find myself trying to excuse it. I'm like, nah, no way it's supposed to be bad. But it's bad. Bro, I swear to God, I was in the movie theater looking side to side like, what's going on here? Am I in the right movie? Is this Glenn Powell? The guy who I really like and have stocks in? Who's being forced on us? Is this guy just not good? What's going on? Was the moment too big for Glenn Powell? And Jamie Lawson, I mean, really bad performance by Jamie Lawson in this movie. So I feel nothing for the romanticism in this film. During the tender and peak moments that they try to make you feel for, I personally felt nothing. I just personally felt nothing. I didn't care what was going on between the two, and I felt like Ben Richards, aka Glenn Powell, who plays the character, was just not believable, not only in the action sequences, but most importantly, in the romantic aspects of this film with his partner in the film. So that is just, I knew this film was going to be bad when I got the romantic scene at the beginning and the exposition scenes in the beginning, and the chemistry was just not there between the relationship that this film so heavily hones on in its peaks and valleys. This film is heavily reliant on the relationship in this film between Jamie Lawson and Ben Richards, but you feel nothing. You just feel nothing, or at least I did. Let me know in the comments if you felt nothing as well, because I most certainly felt nothing. So the relationship and the chemistry in this movie is really bad. What else did I like? I mean, Edgar Wright, such a great and talented filmmaker. He's made some really great films. Some of my favorite films of all time: Scott Pilgrim, Shaun of the Dead, and then you get Hot Fuzz. Those are all masterpieces in my opinion. And this film felt entirely slossless, and if I didn't know Edgar Wright directed this film, I wouldn't be able to identify who this filmmaker was. And that is bad, especially for a filmmaker like Edgar Wright, who prides himself on being identifiable as a filmmaker, who brings his own personalities to the films that he's crafting and making. And this film felt entirely sauceless. Entirely. Almost to the point where it's like, did Edgar Wright make this movie to make one for the studio so he can make his own original film again? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. So I was very disappointed with the filmmaking here. Outside of a couple well-shot action sequences, the filmmaking here is not identifiable, and that is a major, major problem with this movie, considering one of the most talented filmmakers making this film. The climax in this film that takes place within a plane is so nauseating and so goddamn underwhelming. Listen, this film wasn't going to be good even if the ending somehow stuck the landing, but the plane does not stick the landing. And pun intended, because that's what happens in the movie. The plane comes crashing down and it ends as a conspiracy. Except this film comes crashing down and it doesn't end in a conspiracy. It ends pretty blatantly that this movie stinks. And I hated the climax. Lee Pace is in this movie. He's going to be the voice in Invincibles. He's going to be Drax, or whatever the character's name is, which I'm looking forward to. He's alright in this movie. But the climax of this movie is bad. The action sequences are sparingly good. But that's a bad thing in a movie like this. The action needs to be hitting if the rest of the movie's not. And the action was not hitting the way it was supposed to. It was not clocking the way it was supposed to. Alright? It just wasn't. And it was very disappointing. The climax sucked in this movie. The action scenes sucked in this movie. And honestly, everything outside of Coma Domingo And frickin' Josh Brolin sucked in this movie. You know a movie is bad when you're asking yourself, was this purposely done? Am I on Ashton Kutcher's revival of Punk'd? Was this purposely done, Edgar Wright? I hope it was. But even if it was, it's still a bad movie. So, The Running Man. I wish my ass ran away from this movie. That's how I'm feeling. Really, this film is predictable as well. Yes, I've seen the original film, so I know where the story is going to go. Despite tiny and minimal changes being made to the story, you kind of know where this film is going to go. I don't want to get into spoilers, but it's very predictable. And ultimately, the payoff for this film is not satisfying. The ending is pretty abrupt, and ultimately, you're leaving the theater scratching your head and asking why, which is what I was doing. The action sequences are so underwhelming, and the dialogue is cringe-inducing. The writing of this film feels incredibly lazy. This film is holding your hand through the themes of this film. This film is obviously about classism, the corporate world, the differences in the lower class and the upper class, and how both classes are treated differently. I mean, there's a scene in the beginning of this film where we go from the slums of the city, which is a rundown area of the city, and it's chaos, a bunch of graffiti, and then we go to the corporate part of the city where he wants to meet with the networks, and it's a beautiful part of the city. Everyone's wearing nice clothing, and it's a great contrast to what you see in the slums. But this film is holding your hand egregiously. And most importantly, this film isn't fun. It's not thoroughly entertaining. It's not exciting. It's not at least an action-packed film where you're like, all right, this doesn't make any sense. This is stupid, but I'm having fun. And I didn't have fun. I was waiting to have fun. The only time I had fun was when Coleman Domingo was on the screen and he was dominating the film. And the only time I was really having fun was when we were getting explained and thrown into the world of the Running Man game. But that fun only happens for a little bit of time. And honestly, when that's happening, and if you've seen the first film, you're like, this happens almost the exact same way in the first film. And honestly, it's a little bit more fun in the first film. See, that film isn't good. It's 3.5 out of 5 because I really enjoyed Arnold Schwarzenegger films and that era of Arnold. And he carries that film. But there's also really interesting characters within that film as well. And there's also some really interesting and campy filmmaking in that film that makes that film so rewatchable. And then this film, there's a whole bunch of CGI and there's a whole bunch of bullshit that feels lazy. And like I'm saying again, it calls to ask you, why was this film even made? I really don't even see why this film would even be made. It's an interesting concept, it's an interesting premise, but it was already done as good as it can get on the first try. So what the fuck? This is really a vehicle for Glenn Powell to display why he's being forced on everyone so hard, and he fails miserably. So the more I talk about this film, the less I feel good about it, and the less I'm realizing this is one of the most disappointing films of the year, if not the most. And it's not like I had major expectations heading to this film. It was just so underwhelmingly bad that you're like, what the hell? What the hell? I think this film is going to be a massive flop. Listen, my movie theater was semi-packed today, but the word of mouth of this film is not going to be good. A lot of it's going to be like, hey, this is boring, this is useless, this is sauceless, and don't even bother. Wait for streaming. That's the word of mouth for this film. I will guarantee you that. Especially with next weekend Wicked coming out. Good luck when it comes to second weekend. Good luck. Because what is there of value here? What is hit on thematically that wasn't hit on good enough in the first film? The cringe-inducing lines of dialogue here might be the most frustrating. This film wasn't funny, but it was funny when it pertains to me laughing at it. That's how bad some of these dialogues being had in this film by the characters were. That's how expositionary the lines of dialogues in this film by characters were. I mean, I was blown away how bad the performances in this movie were outside of Brolin and Coleman Domingo. And it's not like Brolin is exceptionally great here. He's just such a veteran in the world of acting. He knows what to bring to this role. Outside of that, every performance in this movie, maybe I'll throw in William H. Macy. He's in this film very shortly. But outside of William H. Macy, Coleman Domingo, and Josh Brolin, the performances in this film are startlingly bad. And I think a lot of people will come away with the same opinion. So listen, I talked about this film as much as I can and as angrily as I can because this movie infuriated me. And I wish I had a better time at the movies. These are some of my favorite days of the year. Me, when I go to the movies by myself, when I get to watch the newest release. And November is a pretty big month for movies, and I want to be having fun at the movies, and I failed to have fun here. And that is heartbreaking, especially since I love Edgar Wright and I love Glenn Powell. So ultimately, I know I gave this film a 2.5 out of 5 on my TikTok video. I'm lowering that down to a 2, and I might lower down my Bruce Springsteen rating as well, because I think they're in the same boat. This film is boring, it's sauceless, it's lazy, it leaves you asking why, and most importantly, the performances in this film, outside of Domingo and Broylan and Macy, heavily disappoint you. And Glenn Powell is extremely disappointing as the leading man, and his stock took a major dip, and this might be an eye-opener for studios and himself, the reactions he's going to get from people who watch this film. So it is your boy Matt Talks Films. Wicked 2 comes out. I liked Wicked 1 because I really like the play and I really like the talents of Cynthia and Ariana Grande. So I will be going to see Wicked 2. But guess what? I am a secure man, but I'm not secure enough to go see Wicked by myself. I got to bring my mom and my sister to go see it because I don't want to be seeing Wicked by myself. So I will be doing a Wicked 2 review, probably to my demise and my dismay, but I will be doing one unless there's another movie I like more than Wicked that weekend. So The Running Man 2025, the remake that nobody asked for, and the remake that leaves you leaving the theater saying why. I give it 2 out of 5, and I'm incredibly disappointed with the filmmaking by Edgar Wright, who I really love, and I'm incredibly disappointed with the main lead's performance in Glenn Powell. So like, comment, and subscribe right here, right now if you made this far in video at Matt Talks Films. Follow me everywhere at Matt Talks Films, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, and Twitter. Follow me everywhere. I'll see you there. Follow me everywhere at Matt Talk Sports if you like sports content. I do a lot of football content. I'm going to start doing MMA and UFC content. And I'm going to start doing basketball content as long as this NFL season starts to dwindle down, which it is. So it's your boy Matt Talks Films, and I absolutely hated this movie. And what a disappointment and what a waste of time. It's your boy Matt Talks Films. I'll see you next Friday.